Hey guys, Lisa Salvatore here. I'm recording this video on Monday, December 14th, the day of the total solar eclipse that occurred for us here on the East Coast, 11:15-ish this morning, 11:16 I believe to be exact. How's everyone feeling? The energy is completely wild, like lunar, right? Lunacy, the moon, but not necessarily in a bad way. It just feels like there's a lot of change in the air, there's a lot of energy, there's a lot of productivity that could be taking place at this time, internally, externally, both. You could also simultaneously feel completely exhausted at this time. I did a separate video read for the eclipse. I'm going to link that below. I did that a couple of days back. So if you do want to go back and listen to that, just to get more of an idea on the energy of this solar eclipse, because it is a tremendous energy and it is setting the precedence for some big changes that could be going on for you personally, but also collectively for the shifts that we'll begin to see as we move into 2021 and carry on throughout the year. And so I think that if you have not already looked into this energy, you may want to. It may give you a aha moment or an epiphany as to why you may be feeling a specific way. And then of course you can always go further and look to your own personal birth chart to see where this particular eclipse is highlighting, where it's illuminating, right? And then you can get more of an idea as to the areas of your life that will be a theme for you going forward. Okay. So also, speaking of being exhausted, I have a dear friend who's also highly intuitive, and we spoke late last night and we hung up, and then I spoke with her this morning for a moment, and she actually reached out to let me know that she was so tired, and then she went on and was just talking and said, I had a really vivid dream last night that I was sending you white light. And I said, well, no wonder why you're tired, because you're working in your sleep. If you're sending me white, and I woke up feeling really peaceful, so I obviously received her white light, so thank you for that. But, it's just funny, we as humans don't necessarily, or I should say, we underestimate the power of energy and just how we are all energy, and we do respond, and the planets do move and speak to us and through us, okay? Anyway, enough of that. So, let's talk about the entrance of Jupiter and Saturn into Aquarius, leaving Capricorn where they've been for the past, Saturn's been in Capricorn for the past 2.5 years. Jupiter has been in Capricorn for the past year. So Jupiter switches signs once per year. Jupiter moves really fast, once per year. Saturn switches signs every 2.5 years, okay? So being that they're the largest planets in our solar system, being that they're social planets, they do speak to themes when they switch signs collectively as to what is going on the world stage, or what will be the areas of highlight and focus. So as they were in Capricorn, it was all about governmental structure. It was all about hierarchy. It was all about rules and restrictions for the greater good of the people, right? Things meant to keep us in a specific place. So there was a lot centered around, there was like a seriousness to things, to everything, particularly where it pertains to the government. Now, Jupiter is about to move into, actually Saturn will go first. So on December 16th, 17th, depending on where you are, Saturn will leave Capricorn and move into Aquarius, where it will be for the next 2.5 years. Jupiter will then follow suit on the 19th. It will move from Capricorn and it will shift into Aquarius, and those two are actually going to meet at what's considered the Great Conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius. And this has not happened in 2,000 years. The last time that we would have experienced, or we didn't experience it, but the last time this was experienced, this particular, because let me back up. The Great Conjunction, the conjunctions happen every 20 years. So every 2 decades, Jupiter and Saturn do conjunct. They do meet up. But the reason why this one is so monumental and so talked about is because the last time we had a Great Conjunction at 0 degrees of Aquarius like this was going back 2,000 years when it was in Pisces, and that was when the Star of Bethlehem, okay? This was when Jesus was born. This is when the 3 wise men, the 3 kings, who were also ancient astrologers, they followed the Star of Bethlehem to take them to Jesus. This is scriptures, right? This is biblical times that we're being pulled back to. And so when you really break that down and think about that, I invite you to just sit with that for a moment, the power of that, because we are in a time, all of us are in a time that we chose to be here for. We signed up for this in our soul contract. We chose to be here during these monumental these times of great change that are going to rewrite history. Think about that. It's pretty powerful. So we're at a clean slate here. I mean, 0 degrees of any sign, okay, is a critical degree, it's considered. It's a clean slate. It's the dawn of a new era right now, guys. You think about what Aquarius represents. Aquarius represents freedom. Aquarius represents the collective, group consciousness, humanitarian efforts, the internet, aliens, forward thinking. This is all Aquarius's domain. And, you know, Aquarius is also ruled by Uranus. And Uranus is currently in Taurus until 2026. And, you know, freedom is the name of the game, right? Change and freedom. But remember, Saturn will be in Aquarius. Saturn is about restriction and delays and hard work, whereas Jupiter is about expansion and growth and optimism and faith and higher learning, right? Jupiter is the great guru in astrology. So Jupiter expands and Saturn contracts, right? Saturn restricts us, but the difference is that, you know, Saturn, even though Capricorn is Saturn's natural domain because Saturn rules Capricorn, remember that Saturn is also the modern day ruler, Saturn is the traditional ruler of Aquarius. Before Uranus was discovered, Saturn was actually the ruler of Aquarius. Now, the modern day ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, okay? So, point being that Saturn is still very familiar with Aquarian energy, and even though, you know, the name of the game is freedom and liberation, Saturn's going to show us over this next 2.5-year cycle how we can free ourselves, right, and make big, great changes, but we have to do work to get it. It's not going to be like that. There's going to be a process that people have to go through. Sorry, I almost just cursed. I just want to stop and say I have been seeing red-shouldered hawks. It's been insane for the past month, okay? I mean, they've literally been like flying in front of my face. And as I was just recording this, I'm sitting by my window and I just saw another one literally fly by the tree out here, pretty much eye level, and go off into another tree. Okay, wow, that made me dizzy. So yeah, so obviously I'm on some kind of a track here. I must be saying something that's very important. And now I lost track of what I was saying. So Saturn being in Aquarius, you know, it's Saturn's going to learn. We're going to learn as the collective new ways of doing things. And because again, Aquarius rules the internet, Aquarius rules different ways of connection. Aquarius is under the element of air. So this is going to change these next 2.5 years. This cycle is going to be all about changing the way that we think, the way that we communicate. I mean, if you think about it, when Saturn and Jupiter met up at the beginning of the year, okay, when the lockdowns first began to take place, and Saturn actually ingressed into Aquarius. So Saturn moved into Aquarius for a little bit initially. And that is the time where we started to have to do everything virtually. And again, Aquarius is the internet. So think about that. We had to learn new ways to connect, new ways to host meetings for work, new ways to connect with family, new ways to talk, new ways to communicate. It's all written. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that. Let me just say this. Astrology does not, it explains things, okay? It explains patterns. It's energy. It's the language of energy. So it does really make a lot of sense. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you agree to some extent. But anyway, so we're at the edge of a new era, the dawn of a new day. Big changes. You know, personally, you again want to look at the theme, your own chart, to see where this is going to affect you. Now, Jupiter, like I said, changes signs once per year, whereas Saturn changes every 2.5. So this conjunction is like, it's powerful, guys. Not only the conjunction within itself is powerful, but it happens on the day of the winter solstice, December 21st. Again, the winter solstice is a passage of time. It's a portal of change. All for the equinox and solstices are the 4 points of the year where it's like you take stock of the 3 months prior since the previous portal, okay, the either eclipse or the equinox, which are points of time where energy is initiated, where things come in fresh and new, and we build and we grow and we implement. Whether we're doing it consciously or not, it's cyclical, so we're always doing it on some level, okay? But this particular winter solstice is super powerful for manifestation. And so you do want to work with this energy. It could be as simple as just lighting a few candles, you know, if you can get together with some friends, if you want to, you can, or if you want it to be completely personal to you, you can do that. This is a great time for journaling, vision boards, about all of the new you want to bring in. And this is not just going to be for like a month or two. This is this next 2.5-year cycle, let's just say, of what do you want to do for yourself? What do you want to bring in? What do you want to change? What do you want to learn? Because Jupiter is the teacher. Jupiter likes to expand knowledge and learn fast forward tracked minded thinking into things that you really want to do. Again, this is not just collective because we're going to see it play out there, but it's also very personal. So you don't need to do anything, but you may want to sit with yourself and think about that, you know, like where you're at right now. What have been the themes for you this past year? What has come up for you into your awareness? What do you want to learn? What do you want to release? What do you want to bring in? And I always say when you do any type of manifestation work, because words are power, right? Thoughts are power. You always want to add for my highest good or lovingly. I always use those words because you want to bring in what's for your highest good, and you want to bring things in a loving manner so that if what you're desiring to bring in requires a release from something else or someone else, whatever, you don't want it to be negative towards anyone else. You don't want to create any negative kind of karma here, negative kind of karmic cycle. So it's just important to remember, you know, in love, lovingly, for my highest good, for the benefit of all, however you want to say it, just so you know you're doing this in a place of love and light and intention, positive intention. One of our ancient astrologers, Johannes Kepler, actually had said that, it's what I've read, but the Great Conjunction, even though it's every 20 years, it sticks to a particular element for 200 years. So we are now leaving the earth element and going into the air element. So for the next 200 years, we're in the element of air, which is, you know, movement, thinking, forward motion, innovation. Things are going to change a lot in the way that we work throughout, you know, in the world, right? So we're set for that big change that is coming up. It is also said, and I don't remember which astrologer I read this from, where I read this from, but it's an astrologer that I know for fact is no longer with us on the earth plane. But I was reading something, and I wish I could remember his name, but it said that under times of these great conjunctions are times where presidents in office or that are elected typically do suffer some kind of fall or illness or something like that. I'm not putting that out there for that to happen, but that is just something that has been documented. And the last one was in the year of 2000, okay? And then this one's 2020. So, you know, you do the math, you do what you want with that information. I just read it. I'm not saying it's fact or truth, but I read it, so I'm just sharing it. Now, back in May of 2000, when we had the last great conjunction, which was in the sign of Taurus, these two were not, Jupiter and Saturn were not this close at all, and they were partially obstructed by the sun's glare. So you couldn't see it as magnificently as if you, even now, even tonight, if it's clear where you are and you can go outside and look, it's a beautiful sight to see. It really is. And it's only going to grow more beautiful and more bright as this conjunction gets closer, as we get closer to this conjunction on the 21st. But starting on the 16th, it's really going to be, I mean, guys, if you have a telescope, I thankfully do. I'm super psyched about this. If you have a telescope, even if you don't need the telescope. It's going to be that spectacular that you won't need it. And this is, remember, this is the Christmas star. This is like such, I don't know why I'm so excited about this, but I am. It just feels like even with the things that have happened this past year, you know, personally, collectively, this is just a moment in time where it's, you know, I invite you just to go inward and look at the good that you have, feel the positivity. Think about the future. Think about how good things can be for you. Think about what you want to bring in. Again, this is so important. Journaling, vision boards, like I said earlier. Now, Saturn is actually going to be behind Jupiter. So he's twice as distant, okay? But it appears like they're right on top of each other. And I'm laughing because ironically or synchronistically, a week ago or so, I was reading a book to my niece who's 7. And the book has just got inserts from history. It's a history book for a first grader. So I'm reading it to her with her, and we happen to start talking about in the book the Galileo times in 1623. And it was just so ironic to me because the last time that Saturn and Jupiter were this close was in 1623, which was the Galileo times. So anyway, it prompted me to stop and start talking to her about this, and she does love the planet. So we were speaking about all of this, and she looked at me with her eyes wide, and she said, but if Jupiter and Saturn really touch, are they going to explode? And you know, that's a really valid question because Jupiter and Saturn are the gas giants. They're the largest planets. So her question did make sense, but what I was explaining to her, and it was just energetically, they are so powerful. So we feel this, and that's why this is so important. This is tremendous energy to work with for bringing things in and putting in the work. Because remember with Saturn, whatever you work towards brings a reward at the end of a transit, at the end of a cycle. You do get opportunities come up, rewards, karmic rewards, something you've worked really hard for at the end of it all. So it's important that you know that. It may seem like you're climbing up the mountain, but eventually you're going to get to the top in whatever way that takes form for you. I don't know because it's personal, but that is something to be mindful of, that this will likely occur. And, you know, again, I don't know, I just feel like even though there's been a lot going on for everyone, you know, personally, collectively, for all of us, it's just, we're still at this brink, on the brink of these tremendous changes and seeing things in such a different way and from such a higher perspective. And I feel like people really are coming together in a much stronger manner. And as we are entering into the age of Aquarius, we are looking at things differently. We are going more out of the box. Aquarius is out of the box. It's a sign that's out of the box. It's ruled by Uranus. It wants to be free. It wants to do what it wants. It wants to feel liberated. It wants to express itself creatively. So again, lots of creativity is available to us. There's so many different ways of looking at things, right? Problem solving. This is a time of intense and big positive changes when we go inward and do the work. I always say do the work like it's so difficult, but it's not. It's just about getting personal with yourself and about what it is that you need and want, right? Another important date that I want to mention, and I invite you to highlight this date and keep it in mind, is the 19th, December the 19th, which is the day that Jupiter will enter Aquarius, okay? Is also the day that Mercury and the Sun are going to conjunct, okay, in Capricorn. As they get ready to shift right into Capricorn, they're going to conjunct, which is called Cazimi in astrology. It's called Cazimi, which basically means that it's like they kiss. So Mercury literally moves into the center of the Sun for like a brief time as it passes through, because Mercury moves so quickly as it passes through, and it's like it's a kiss, it's a blessing. So being that Mercury rules communication, and he's the god, the messenger of the gods, you will likely get some sort of information, whether it's psychically or whether it's through another, you know, a physical channel. You will get a piece of information that's very growth orientated for you. And again, it could even just be something you think of that just comes up out of nowhere. But it's a moment in time where there could be a blessing coming in the form of a communicative way that you were not expecting. So keep that in mind on the 19th. And if something doesn't come through for you at all, you know, I'm sorry, but if it does, just think about what it is, because it would be like that. It's a blessing. So whatever it is, it's going to give you that idea, that push, something that you may need to get you going, okay, to get you forward. And then as we get on towards, then we're going to be coming up upon the Christmas holiday, and then we're going to gear up towards another full moon at the end of the month in Cancer. So I'm going to come back for more, you know, as we move on through the week to check in, because even just talking about this, guys, makes me like, I just feel a lot of energy. So that's why I do this in chunks, because I don't always know what direction I'm going to go once I start talking. So I wanted to pull a card for this next week or so, just to kind of see, you know, where the energy's at. And by the way, I just got this new deck and I love it. It's called Starry Beginnings. It's Guided Messages from the Stars by Cassie White. It's really pretty. All right, so let's get a message. Spend time on you. Balance yourself. Yeah. So again, when it comes to this great conjunction, this beautiful portal of energy, the winter solstice, December 21st, that day is significant. Take notice of what is going on around you, outside of you, inside of you, more importantly. Use it just to even think about what it is that you want to implement for yourself. What are some things that you've been wanting to do that maybe you haven't had the time or the chance, or what type of education do you want to further yourself in? You know, whether it's formal study or informal study. If you want to learn how to read the tarot, sign up for my newsletter because I'm going to do my live course in February. Just kidding. Kind of kidding. I'm not really kidding. I am doing the course live, but I'm just giving an example. Like, these are the things that as you move into 2021, it's like you want to maybe take a class that you've been wanting to take and enroll in. Maybe pick up a new skill that you've been wanting to do. Get something published. Whatever it is, this is the time that you want to harness this energy because it is so, so powerful for new beginnings. And again, if you can get outside and just marvel at the beauty of Jupiter and Saturn, it really is a sight to see. I mean, it's amazing. I can't wait to go out and look at it again. It's not really clear right now, but hopefully over the next couple of days it will get more clear and you'll be able to see it. So anyway, guys, take really good care of yourselves. As always, my links are below, lisasalvatore.com, and I'll talk to you all real soon. Bye.